welcome to the B2B Growth Blueprint Podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders at B2B services, tech, and SaaS companies to learn the systems and processes they've used to create success for their business. We'll also learn from marketing and sales experts to provide insights to help you grow your business. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and the podcast is brought to you by Modern Revenue Strategies and their 10x ROI B2B Growth Guarantee. Schedule a free diagnostic call to learn the fastest path to double your B2B revenues in just 90 days. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and today I'm very excited to welcome my guest, Guy Daniel. Now, Guy is the CEO and founder of Omnia AI Agency. The name of his agency is really close and near and dear to my heart. We'll talk about that later. Guy has previously worked with giants like Disney, Marvel, LVMH, Accor Hotels, Element AI, and OpenAI. He's a seasoned entrepreneur and investor from Montreal, although he's actually calling in from Brazil today. He's got a proven track record, generated over $350 million for clients and investors. He's also owned and operated an investment fund focused on innovative technology startups. So, Guy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, I've been super excited about this conversation from some of our previous conversations that we've had, and you've got such an interesting background and are at such an exciting place. Why don't you tell us your story a little bit of some of your background working with these larger companies and really what you're doing today at Omnia?
Of course, of course. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really admire everything you're doing. Congratulations on the success.
Thank you.
So I'm from Montreal. I started really young in entrepreneurship. Also, worked my way up. I started working since I'm 15 years old. At 20 years old, I moved to Los Angeles with a few friends. We opened up a music management company
Yeah.
and found a lot of success over there. And then from there, as we went along, technology started booming, especially 2017, 2018, 2019. I don't know if you remember, so much investment in new tech. And Montreal was actually the hub of a lot of the development for artificial intelligence, right? So Meta was there, Element AI back in the days were there too, and a lot of other big ones. So when we opened up our investment fund, we got a few investors together and everything. We invested heavily in artificial intelligence because it was there. We were right next to it. And then, long story short, here we are a few years later, and
That wound up being a good bet, huh?
wound up being a good bet. Absolutely. And yeah, we ended up opening up our own AI agency with the boom of ChatGPT like 3 years ago. We were one of the first AI agencies in the world. And we started working with our existing clients, which were very enterprise level.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, at that point, we started asking like, hey, if you literally had a magic wand, which is what AI is today, what would you do? What would you change in your business? Like, what would you do better? And from there was born the enterprise level AI agents.
Awesome. So for folks that are listening and maybe they're using ChatGPT as a support mechanism in their business, or maybe they're using some automation flows to sort of improve their processes. What are some of the cutting edge enterprises doing that you're working with to really leverage AI and get the most out of it?
Awesome. Good question. I would say automating systems and really creating like a full AI workforce, if you can call it that. Literally building workers who are AI that can do the tasks that some of their staff do. That way it can free up their staff to do better things, more creative things in a lot of cases, right? So a good example is we're working with a JPMorgan bank, where we were testing. On an enterprise level, sometimes you test for months, before it really goes in.
Yeah.
We were testing in one of their departments, which was a department of basically cold callers calling new businesses to convince them to open up basically a free business bank account, right?
Okay.
Essentially. What we did is we developed an AI agent that was trained on obviously who they are, what their packages are, everything, and their sales script. And we actually took some of their best salesmen and trained on top of that. And they were super happy to be part of the project, obviously.
Yeah.
Anybody who trains with us as well always gets like a sort of kickback. We kind of
Yeah.
do that so that we don't, we consider essentially what the work of the worker is doing today, right?
Yeah.
And in some cases, really good salesmen, their work can be trained and duplicated forever in a way. So what we did is we created an AI agent that's on the phone and that is making these phone calls, thousands of phone calls a day. It's crazy, Mark. And essentially what we were able to do is we were able to reduce their costs by 70% within 3 months. We
Wow.
were able to call a lot more people. They had a staff of 80 people, 80, which is a huge 2 floors, just people
Yeah.
calling. And yeah, so we were able to reduce their costs like crazy and increase their sales by 30%. So
Wow.
imagine like 70% reduction in cost, 30% increase in revenue is insane numbers. There's not anything that you would see traditionally, right?
Yeah.
So it just kind of shows you a little bit, and this is one of our best case scenarios as well. It shows you how AI is coming in to change the way we work, you know? And what's crazy is that out of 200,000 calls, less than 4% of people noticed that it was like a robot or an AI.
Wow.
96% of people believed it to be a human. And I think what's crazy about the AI is that it understands you. Like we use a lot of consumer psychology a little bit in a way,
Yeah.
um, to help the AI relate to the customer in a way that a human can't really do over and over again every single day.
That's right.
Humans, they have feelings, they're going through different things every day. Maybe Stacy broke up with John last night and
That's
Stacy's
right.
not feeling good today, you know what I mean?
That's right.
And the AI, no, the AI will always be consistent. And what's interesting about it is that it's always going to remember you and the conversations it has with you. So right there, we're introducing hyper personalization to phone calls where a regular person on the call, a regular human taking the call, wouldn't necessarily go that deep in the
That's right.
relationship with you. So I
So
would say that's a big change that we were doing with this bank, and we're going to duplicate it to every single department.
So I've you bring up something really interesting that I've seen some research on, which talks about humans forget, and humans get tired or they have a bad day, or all these things. So they are sort of from their peak are kind of always trying to re-achieve that peak and struggling to do it, frankly, because they forget over time what their best practice process was. They
Yeah,
forget over time the things that they've learned about their customers. They have bad days where they are tired or hungover or whatever it might be, versus a machine that progressively gets better. So that their best version of themselves is the bottom of where they start, and then as they learn, they actually get better. And as they learn more about the customer, they can become more personalized. And as they improve their process and see better outcomes, they can improve the process over time. So it's that, sort of cross of humans are always struggling to achieve what they do on their best day versus a machine that's always improving upon what it starts on is really just impossible to keep up with if you're not leveraging machines to sort of accomplish this in your business.
exactly. No, exactly. You hit the nail right on the head. I think it's crazy to say. A lot of people they're saying, AI is going to come for our jobs. AI is going to change a lot of things. It is going to change a lot of things. Now, coming for your job is obviously like how many technologies have come out in the last few years that have
That's right.
completely changed, right?
Yeah.
Like people who were drawing ads for billboards back in the days, what are they doing today? There's
They're
there's no
using
more
machines. Yeah.
there's
They're
no more
using Adobe. Yeah.
exactly, they're using Adobe. And if they didn't learn Photoshop and they didn't learn all these new digital techniques, then there's no way that they can compete with the younger workforce. And I think that's what's coming here. So it's really like, how do you use AI, right? How will this change happen? Obviously, it's hard to predict the future. but we can clearly tell that AI is huge and it's doing a lot of things. And we're still in the infancy. It's been less than
Right.
3 years. Less
That's
than
right.
3 years. The internet is what, 30 years old or something? Commercial internet, let's say,
Yeah. Yeah.
30 years old. You know what I mean? And look how far we've come since HTML1. Now,
Right.
what's it going to look like 20 years into the future? AI is advancing at an insane pace. So I think it's like, yeah, people need to learn how to use AI because we will be working hand in hand with AI in the next 20 years, even 5 years,
Yeah, faster than that. In fact, like
faster than that. It's already happening.
that's right. Well,
Yeah,
so in my practice, we just like you've talked about. We have trained different AI agents, not really agents because they aren't making multiple decisions, but different AI support staff, if you will, on a
right.
locus of information. The 100 best textbooks on brand strategy, the 100 best processes that I've seen, companies use in developing a brand strategy. And then that becomes, Bobby the brand builder. And then, another, Sally the sales leader, 100 of the best texts on sales, and 100 of the best scripts and objection overcoming frameworks and ways to approach. And then I have them kind of do battle with each other on what's our go-to-market strategy look like, given this context and research on a company. And I'm continually impressed at their ability to, as long as you give it the right training, to really sort of understand some nuanced things, and even come up with, what I call clever. And I'll say like, do something clever here, and
Yeah,
it'll kind of do something that I wasn't expecting, that you sort of think of as a human required synthesis, but it actually does a really good job of coming up with some things. Now, it still needs some massaging. Like there's still a role for the expert, but
right.
what a better way for me and my team to spend our time is applying that expertise instead of doing the grunt work of doing the research and applying the best practices and bringing in a framework or a playbook that's been previously established.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. And I think that's where people get confused sometimes. It's AI is already super intelligent and it's still super young. So imagine how far it's going to go.
Yeah,
But the thing is that humans are also intelligent and we have a feeling or we have different processes sometimes that the AI might not necessarily choose or might not necessarily, it's very not generic, but from the bat, ChatGPT will act a certain way.
that's
You
right.
got to give it parameters. You definitely have to give it parameters. And now, if you add on top your own expertise, what's working for you in your niche, right? Like what your processes are, what your experience has been, then the AI can take that and go 1,000x,
That's right.
and that's something that nobody else has, right? Nobody can come up to you and be like, hey, let me download your brain into this AI. No, only
Right.
you can do that.
That's right.
And so I think that's where the opportunity is today, especially with AI agents and especially, using AI for your own benefit, whether it's for marketing, whether it's for sales, accounting,
Right.
or even just coming up with like new ideas.
Yeah, there's a conversation in the marketing and sales space on is AI coming for your job? And the phrase that everyone has pretty much adopted is you're not going to lose your job to AI, not in the next year or two, but you are going to lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI if you don't.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
really the sort of mantra that we have in marketing and sales about it is it's such a, I mean, the call center example that you used, it's such a powerful tool that if you're not thinking, through that lens first of how do we leverage this tool, you're really missing out. And in the same way that
Absolutely.
even maybe 5, 10 years ago, the idea of being mobile first, in
Yes.
your company perspective, now people are like, okay, if I'm solving this problem, how do I think about solving it AI first,
Exactly.
rather than with so
And I think for enterprises, that's the biggest thing. It's like, how are we going to go AI first? A
yeah,
lot of companies in the last 2, 3 years, they've been working with the KPMGs, the Bain and companies, those huge guys. who are charging millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like I've seen a lot of cases where the AI agents don't work that well.
That's right.
It's crazy. And a lot of these companies now are asking for their money back 2 years later,
Yeah.
because if you don't know how to organize your data and you don't know really how to sync the AI with your processes, because right now we're working very rudimentary. It's very rudimentary.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are lacking. Some sort of like, and it's gonna come for sure, like some sort of ontology layer that's gonna connect all your AI agents with your database, you
That's
know?
right.
And I think the database will have to be optimized so that it can speak to the AI agents in an optimized way, right? Yeah.
So we touched on this a little bit before the show, and I want to dive into this now, which is
Hmm.
this idea of a mindset for AI. And there was a mindset shift that happened in kind of the 80s of moving from an analog world to into digital transformation, sort of people process
Yes.
technology as a way of approaching it. And then there was another mind shift that happened when it was now the World Wide Web. Like you can think in a global perspective instead of a local. And then there was another in the technology space, a mind shift when big data became available of how do you structure problems in a way that they can be answered with data? How do you structure your data sets in a way that they can be queried by analytical frameworks? So I'm curious, as someone who's on this leading edge, what is the mindset shift for AI that's different from other digital transformation or other big data and analytics mindsets? Like how should businesses be adopting a mindset that enables them to solve problems with AI?
That's a really good question. I would say, obviously, practice. Like,
Okay.
get your mind, like, practice talking to ChatGPT and all these other ones. So you can see really like how far can it go today, right? But in terms of mindset, I think automation and systems is what's coming now.
Yeah.
And especially how you organize your database. A lot of businesses are not organized. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. Enterprise and small businesses. And I think that's cool. Probably AI will come in later on and be able to organize it for you in a way, maybe in a
Right.
generic way. But I think even before that, if you want to be ahead of your competition, you have to understand how your data is going to interact um, with the AI. So
Yeah.
for example, let's talk a marketing example here, right?
Sure.
So, image generation has been around for 3 years now. It got from, or a little bit more, but whatever. It went
Sure.
from something really horrible, right, to now it's doing amazing, amazing things. And ChatGPT's new image model is even writing text on
Yeah.
top, so you can create full posts, right? Which is pretty cool. Now, if you talk to it just a little bit, it's gonna and you ask it to create some sort of post for whatever topic that's in your industry. Cool, it's gonna create something nice, right? Better than probably what you're doing, but it's not gonna be as good as if you would manually do it on Canva or something, Photoshop or something,
Right.
right? And so herein comes where your database lies. Like if you're able to understand that, yes, you can use these tools, but your knowledge and the way you organize your assets is important to how it's going to read the type of post that it's going to create for you. That's
Yeah.
where it comes in. So instead of just going on to ChatGPT and saying, hey, create a post about an AI podcast, let's say. Well,
Right.
instead, what you can do is give it more parameters. What do you want to see in this post? And even more, what you can do with that is, hey, you probably have been posting for the last 2, 3 years. How about you feed it what you've been doing
Yeah.
so that it can recreate in your tone of voice and your branding style? And then you'll see how it kind of just automatically levels up. And I think that's where the human AI synergy comes in. AI is doing amazing things, don't get me wrong, but when you put the blood and sweat that you've put in over the last few years mixed with this AI, you're going 1000x. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the mindset is. It's like organizing your assets and your database and your company for it to speak the AI's language, which will then translate to your user's language.
Well, and also it's capturing that data, and I can give a really easy use case. One of the things that we do is we'll build sort of like synthetic data sets or like synthetic personas of a particular customer group or customer segment that we're trying to go after. But it can give you sort of a generic off the shelf if I just say act like this type of person and give it enough stuff. Or if you've been capturing phone transcripts from conversations with prospects and specific customers that fit within this persona, then you can feed it the actual transcripts, and then it starts to really understand what the persona is of that. And one of the things that we've started doing is creating these synthetic personas. Now you can ask it questions like, hey, I'm
Yeah,
thinking about launching this ad campaign. How would you respond to that? And it can actually answer. It's like you have your customer in your pocket. You can just pull out and ask it anytime, and it's going to give you really rich information. We've seen companies also, scraping reviews of competitors or even of the product itself, and then using those reviews to feed into these synthetic personas that then has a really rich understanding of some of the issues that customers are dealing with in the marketplace. But if you're not thinking
absolutely.
about how to capture that data, how to use that data, then you're just stuck with the generic version of what everyone else will have access to.
Exactly. Absolutely. And you said it really right. Like, imagine you're a huge business and you have over 200,000 reviews for one product. What are you going to do? How many people do you need to really read all these reviews and put that data together?
That's right.
It's too much. There's no way. There's no way. You're losing your time.
Yeah,
With AI, it'll do it in a few minutes, and then you'll really understand that big picture.
that's
Same
right.
thing, same thing with the bank. The bank, for example, imagine how many people are calling.
Yeah,
The thing is that you're going to save all the transcripts. Obviously, it's compliance,
right.
but you're never really going to have somebody who's going to look at the data. What were people talking about, right?
That's right.
Maybe each individual salesman will understand because it's him, right? But how do you get that for 1,000 salespeople, right? It's very difficult.
Yeah,
Now the AI can do that. You put all these transcripts, all these audios into one kind of giant database, and the AI will be able to pinpoint exactly like, hey, what are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? What technique is working, right? What type of questions do the users have? All these things. So if you can understand that, hey, this question has been coming up like 80% of the time, maybe we should change the way we present it, right? Maybe we should change what's on our website so that people can better understand the information that we're feeding it. And
that's
that's
right.
where the mindset is, it's not just it's there's so many layers to it, right? Yeah. And
Yeah,
now like if you look at celebrities, okay, so we're working with a few celebrities.
uh-huh.
You're talking about creating synthetic personalities and stuff. Imagine recreating a celebrity, a clone, and we've been doing that, right? We've even been making video clips, music video clips with some artists, like with Apple Music and different people, and it's insane. And imagine the artist doesn't need to do anything, right?
Wow.
He can keep working, he can keep building, he can keep touring. Music clip is done in 24 hours. We're able to clone him, so we're working with a few celebrities to release basically interactive clones of themselves,
Wow.
where it's kind of like a digital fan club where they can speak to their users. So imagine like if we just talk like influencers, right? So life coaches, financial influencers, marketing influencers, right? They have their own kind of niche, their own fan base.
Right.
Now, people they pay expensive to have a one-on-one with this person, right? But imagine it wouldn't cost you $1,000 an hour. You can have that one-on-one and really grab the knowledge that's in that person's head through his clone.
That's right.
Now, the real person doesn't need to work any harder. He doesn't need to do anything. It's like an extra arm and it's an extra revenue stream for him without necessarily having to do anything. And he'll be able to get closer to the client, to the user. Now, what's interesting here is imagine the data you're able to collect. All these conversations that you're having are all going into a database, and it's going to help the celebrity or the influencer or whoever it is understand like how are the users interacting with me, right? What's their behavior.
Yeah.
And what type of topics do these people talk to me about, right? So in a lot of cases, imagine if you're a big celebrity and you after 100,000 conversations, you realize, wait, like 78% of all my users or followers or fans basically are love dogs. Talk to me about buying dog stuff. Talk to me about their dog, whatever, the fun that they're having with their dog, right?
Right.
Something that has nothing to do with what with the music that you're doing, right? But maybe in your next campaign, you bring a dog along.
Have a dog. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe that next weird branding collab that you're doing is with a pet company, right?
Yeah.
That does cool pet clothes. Because you know that your users buy at least once a month some sort of dog accessory or cat accessory or whatever it is. And so this is like, we talk about Instagram, Google, Twitter, all these guys today that are giving you just a piece, a small piece of the analytics that they're collecting, you
Right.
know? So it's hard for you to really go deep in that. But AI will allow you to collect this data. So especially in the marketing area,
That's right.
and will allow you to really make better decisions on what type of campaigns or how you can address your audience. And even more than that, this opens the door to hyper personalization. So imagine you're able to interact with your fans. Let's say one of your fans is talking to you for the 10th time. Well, you're going to remember what the previous conversations were, right? Well, the AI will remember in this case. And it'll be able to say, like, oh, hey, you got a new dog last week. I remember.
That's
How's
right.
he going? Is he growing up? And so that hyper personalized conversation, which wouldn't happen otherwise,
Couldn't.
is something that can connect, I think, the brands, the businesses, right? A celebrity is a business at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and the users or the fans.
Oh,
Yeah.
so exciting to see where all this goes. So what's something that, for people that are listening and, maybe they're believers, like they're
Right.
not naysayers, they're not sitting on the sidelines, but they're not really sure how to get started today. Like, and let's move beyond the start playing around with ChatGPT. Of course, everyone should be doing that. If you're not doing that, you're already behind.
Yeah.
And even sort of identifying some tools that have AI baked in that can make your process better or replace an older tool. But from an enterprise where oftentimes it's really hard to sort of think big picture about sort of this transformation that can come. What can they do today to kind of get started in this approach?
So obviously ChatGPT is a big one.
Sure.
Um, I would say let's try to say something that's uncommon.
Okay.
Try to, what I tell a lot of sometimes when we meet new clients, I always say, like, imagine you had Pandora's box in your hand, like a magic wand, right? What would you change to make your life better? And that's a big question. Now, if
Yeah.
you apply it to your business, it's like where are your bottlenecks? What's not working? What would you change? There's so many answers to that question. And a lot of times, you know, as of 2 years ago, before that, it would probably be something that it's expensive. I need to hire 5 people for this, or I need to get this, or you know what I mean? Like, oh, I need to install this and this and this process. It's going to take 6 months to do it, or oh, it'd be cool if we had like an online platform where our clients can access. And oh, but the agency quoted me $400,000 to build it,
Right.
$50,000 to build it, whatever. Obviously, it's like for small businesses, I'm not going to put 50K in this. There's no way. It's a lot of money. Now, all these questions that you've probably thought about in the past, you should rethink about it today. Because right now, the barriers of entry for these things are really low. The cost entry for that is really low. We've been building $1 million apps, literally $1 million apps for $50.
Right.
$50. Obviously not counting the engineer's time, okay,
Sure.
which could cost a lot. But in terms of tech, like $50, and anybody can do it today. And I think as you go along, it's just going to get better and better and better. So I would say think about where your bottleneck is
Yeah.
and what would it take to fix it. and then just go on YouTube and look at what people are doing. Look at the AI agents that people are building. The
Yeah.
YouTube content about AI today is 1,000 times more than what it was 2 years ago. There's a lot of people talking about it, a lot of free information, a lot of free AI agents sometimes that people just give out for free. Explore, look, and test, and try to figure it out. It's not hard these days. If you have a question, go on ChatGPT. I mean, you can mirror your screen on ChatGPT now, and he's going to tell you exactly what to do, you know?
Yeah.
So there's no real excuse. I think it's just about, like you said, the mindset. It's about sitting down and thinking, like, what do I need to be better? Whether it's in my business or in my personal life, you know?
Yeah. That's so insightful. It's such an exciting time. And you're obviously such an expert. We could talk about this all day, but I got to be mindful of your
Yeah.
But so before I let you go though, who do you work with there at Omnia AI? Like who should reach out to you and what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Awesome. So we're at omniai.io. Super
Okay.
simple. You can reach out to us through there, through our Instagram, through our LinkedIn page as well, or just look me up, Guy Daniel on LinkedIn, or just Guy X Daniel on Instagram. Shoot me a message. I'm super easy to talk to. I love to answer everybody as much as I can, obviously, to whatever questions you might have. And we're big on AI ethics at Omnia AI Agency. So, as much as we're working with enterprise level, I think it's good to share the knowledge and the tech with regular folks, people who don't have the edge that enterprise level has. So yeah,
Yeah.
hit us up, omniai.io, and it would be a pleasure to talk to each and every one of you.
Awesome. Well, Guy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I mentioned that I had to call something out about the name of your agency, and I actually happen
Yes,
to have a tattoo, Omnia Incipit Scintilla,
that's
which means
crazy.
it all begins with a spark. And so
Absolutely.
your name is near and dear to my heart, or at least to my arm.
What are
So
the odds? That's
what are the
insane.
odds? But thank you so much for joining us. You're a wealth of knowledge. I've really enjoyed the
Thank you,
conversation. I
Mark.
look forward to talking with you more soon.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me, and we'll talk very soon, I'm sure.
All right, talk to
Cheers.
you later.
Thank you for joining this episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint Podcast. We hope you've gained insights to grow your business. If you enjoyed this discussion, please rate, comment, like on your favorite platform, and share to others who will find it useful. Do you know a CEO, founder, or leader at an early stage B2B services, tech, or SaaS company who would like to be a guest and share their story? Send us a note. Let's schedule a conversation.